Good morning, everyone. I look very Slavic today, which I'm not. I don't think I'm Slavic at all, although I have never sent in my DNA to be tested. I've always been very sure. We've done family trees and things like that, and apparently I'm just all English and Irish. That's it. And, you can see that. But I'm not sure I even want to visit Ireland. I receive reports from friends and acquaintances who live or have lived in Ireland, and things seem very weird there. Things seem very weird everywhere. And my husband, speaking of Slavic, my husband and I were actually talking last night about, just not considering seriously, but joking in a way about the idea of moving to Russia, because apparently Russia is very welcoming to Orthodox Christians with large families. And the truth of the matter is, no other country wants us. No country really wants our enormous family of 8 children. And it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Canada certainly doesn't want us. They made that very, very clear. Not just the institution of Canada, not just the colony of Canada, not just the city of London, Canada, but the people in Canada around us really, really didn't want us. And now that we're in the US, we're part of this amazing community, this church community, and we feel completely welcomed in a way that has really never happened before, especially given our large family. And it's so beautiful. Our children have integrated so wonderfully into this amazing school. It is a dream come true in so many ways. It's incredibly, I wrote about it in my most recent Substack article, but it's such a beautiful school, it's such a beautiful community, and I've never really experienced this before. I've had a taste of it, and I kind of tasted it in my own childhood in the Anglican church where I grew up, which again I wrote about in my recent Substack article, and actually I did a video on Anglicanism. But I've never experienced this kind of true community before. Now that we're in it, it's just so obvious. Like, of course, education must optimally have a spiritual component. Of course, if one has a set of values that are grounded in a spiritual outlook, then children have to be educated within that framework as well, of course. And I'm so grateful for this community. It's so wonderful. So we don't want to leave, but the US also doesn't want us. The US as a government institution, whatever, they don't want us. Maybe things are changing, but I don't know. The whole topic of, and I'm not really political at all, but of course we're in the world, and I am in the world, and I notice what's happening in the world, and it's very, very interesting. And yeah, just the demographic shifts that are occurring all over the place, I think, are not insignificant and do have an impact on people in their individual lives and communities. So it's super interesting. My husband and I both come from the left, and it is absolutely true that woke politics have either actually pushed anyone who was even remotely centrist or moderate actually to the farthest reaches of the right, or those people who still are or consider themselves to be moderate or centrist or like reasonable are being labeled far right anyway. And so I see that in ourselves. And for us, I don't know, it's in coming to the Orthodox Church, what I've realized is that I am actually a conservative. There are actually things that I think are worth conserving and preserving. And one of those things is the differences between men and women. And those differences are not just clear and present and inarguable, they are incredibly important and incredibly precious and incredibly beautiful. And I love being a woman. I love being a woman. I love being a mother. And I have come to realize that everything about Christianity, everything about biblical teachings is true. It's correct. It's true. Whether you like it or not. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Men and women are different. Men and women have different strengths and all the other stuff as well. So, and it was so wonderful to talk with my husband last night and to see in him such a radical transformation. And I feel like we are a testament to how marriages can be transformed even after many years. It's been 20 years. And we are in the midst right now in our 40s, well, he's almost 50, I'm in my 40s, of completely reconfiguring our family's orientation. And our family is, the configuration of our family remains the same. You know, we've stayed together through thick and thin over the years. But to see my husband come to Christ and come to the church and to see so much beauty and value in the church when for so long he was in a state of active resistance against Christianity and never resonated with his religious upbringing or with the versions of Protestantism or Catholicism that he saw around him, to see him fall in love with the church through Orthodoxy is so amazing. And I talked a little bit in one of my previous videos about what brought me to Anglicanism, and I don't think I really mentioned this in depth, but partly what brought us and our family to Orthodoxy was having too many children and sensing that there had to be, I guess, other people out there like us who really felt and perceived what almost feels like an open secret, which is that having many children is just a complete and total blessing all around. There's no downside in our experience anyway. And that every child that comes into our family is a total blessing. And also it's not hard. There's nothing hard about it. There's nothing, and again, it is sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice that is totally soul nourishing and positive and wonderful. And actually I had an exchange with a woman at church yesterday, and we were talking about our families, and she has 4 children, and her last 2 she had once she joined the church and realized that having children is a blessing. So her 2 are older. She has kind of 2 batches, but I think with the same husband. And she was saying that, you know, it took coming to the church for her to realize how selfish she had been in not wanting to have more children. And I've talked about this a lot, and I've written about this even before we began our conversion to Orthodoxy, but I don't know about that, because I actually feel like there's a very healthy kind of selfishness in wanting to have children and in allowing ourselves to follow that urge. So maybe it's a multifaceted thing, but I do recognize that a lot of child-free by choice women feel very defensive or affronted by the suggestion that it's selfish not to have children. And I actually wonder if it's not just both in all directions. I think that for a lot of women who choose not to have children, that does come from a genuine desire to not be selfish, because their experience of childhood was so broken and dysfunctional that in their minds, that their genuine perception is that for them to make the same choice to have a child that their dysfunctional parents did would be cruel and an act of selfishness. But there's so much that's revealed in that perspective, so much distortion that's revealed in that perspective. Not that it's wrong at all, but I think this idea that having children is a burden, that it's drudgery, that it's awful, that it's unpleasant, is part of the collective pain body and the collective trauma that exists just as a result of the fracture of families, in large part due to feminism. So it's a very complicated thing. But yeah, seeing my husband not just willingly going to church, but eagerly going to church and experiencing the same kind of craving that I feel for the liturgy it's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing, and it's romantic. It's so romantic. It's so healing for our marriage and for all of those areas of wounding that I think so many couples can relate to around masculinity and femininity and the damage that feminism has done to our families and our marriages. And it's just, I just feel so immensely grateful. I never could have imagined that this would occur in our relationship and in our marriage. And of the many consequences of this is also just that my husband is stepping into fatherhood in such a different, more authoritative, more grounded way. And it's really beautiful. It's very beautiful. And we do crave church, and our children love going to church. They love it, not because it's fun, because it's not fun. I mean, gathering with our friends in our community after church and sharing food and the children playing together, that's so much fun and we're all having a great time. But church itself is not fun, and yet it's so deeply nourishing that our children feel that. And I had one of the most beautiful experiences yesterday at church with our 3-year-old Helio, who is just such a beautiful child. He's so sweet, he's so innocent, he's so delightful. We all just adore him. He has such a crystalline energy to him. He's the sweetest boy. And he's 3, and so he's very squirrely at church. He was really squirrely 3/4 of the way through, and our liturgies are around 2 hours long, usually 2.5 hours. And it's all standing and singing, and sometimes prostrations, especially this past week because it's Lent. So I don't know anything. I'm such a baby in all of this, and I always feel nervous talking about this because I wonder if the Orthodox women watching this are... Anyway, I don't want to mess it up, but I'm messing all of it up, so I just have to talk about it. But so in this past week, there were several services that involved many prostrations, and that felt really good to oh, hi, my love. It's the 3-year-old now. Hello, my darling. So anyway, we were in church together. I'm talking about how we were in church together yesterday. So we were at church, and I was holding you like this, and we were singing with the liturgy, and we were praying to God, and then you started to get so wiggly, didn't you? You were wiggling around. You were saying, I want to go out. And one of the things that I absolutely adore about our church, I don't know if this is universal to Orthodox churches, but there is so much rigor and so much structure to the liturgy, and there's such an attendance to order and to the correct hierarchy. So there's our priest who is honored appropriately, and everyone engages with him with so much respect that comes from true devotion and true love. And then there are the nuns, who are so wonderful, and I wanted to say something about that too, because I worry that maybe I seemed flippant about the nuns when I spoke about the nuns in my previous video, but I'm enthralled by them because they do just exude godliness, and a godliness that I certainly aspire to and will never achieve in this lifetime, I'm sure, but one can hope. And and the nuns are so wonderful because when the children kind of get out of hand a little bit, the nuns come and they scoop them up and they carry them to the front and they have a little talk, or they carry them out and they have a little talk. Oh, sorry, babes. And oh dear. And just the presence of the nuns. Someone actually wrote in response to that other video that I made and said, you know, I think it's very healthy for children and families to be part of a parish where there are nuns, where there's a convent attached. And there is a convent right next to our church building, and the nuns live there. And I completely agree. It's very grounding to be in the presence of the nuns and to have the nuns there facilitating the life of the parish and supporting families. They do such an amazing job of supporting the families at the church. So anyway, Helio was in my arms. He was wiggling around. He was saying, I want to go out, and being a little bit disruptive. And as I said, there's so much rigor and discipline and structure to the liturgy and to the way that the church is set up, but there are also no pews in the center. There are no seats. Everyone stands or sits off to the side. And there are beautiful rugs in the church on the gorgeous gleaming wood floor, and it's just such a place of exquisite beauty. And the iconography of the church is like walking into a jewel. It's so beautiful. So again, I wrote about this in my Substack piece, but it's such a beautiful space, and there's so much structure and rigor. And yet, at the very same time, and this is such an amazing paradox, at the very same time, everyone is free to filter in and out, and everyone is free to worship and to pray in their own way. There's protocol, absolutely, and there are specific times when it's correct to make the sign of the cross, and we honor all of the interior structural, architectural elements of the church. There are places where it's appropriate to do the sign of the cross, and again, I'm just learning all of that stuff too, but the obedience to the structure and the order of the church is entirely voluntary. And of course, we're influenced by each other, as we all are always in every aspect of life. But there's also a very conscientious honoring of free will in the entire experience. It's built into the experience. And anyway, this little sweetheart, I'm going to talk about you in a second. This little sweetheart was squirrely and wiggly, and I was thinking for a moment, I'll just take him out and we'll sit out in the narthex just outside the church, and we'll read some stories, because there's children's books there, and mothers with crying babies will leave the church and console their babies and then go back in. But then I thought, no, let's go up, because we usually stand at the back. Our family usually sits at the back because we're always late. We're always late, and that's completely accepted. I mean, not encouraged to be late, but we have never been to church on time, and there's never been at church this day. I don't think we're going to go today, because today is Monday, and usually we don't go, but I think there is a service today that we could go to, but we're definitely going to go on Wednesday. Not tomorrow, but the next day. Yeah. Anyway, you want to run back downstairs now, Stat, to clean your face? And I'll come down in a minute. How does that sound?
No.
Yeah?
Not good.
Not good? Oh, okay. Well, you stay here then, and I'll be done in just a moment. So, instead of going out, I thought, well, let's just go up. And I whispered to Helio, remember what I said? Remember what I said when you were wiggling in my arms? I said, let's go up closer to Father. Okay, let's go up closer to Father, and we'll watch. We'll watch the candles, and we'll see the icons. And so we wove our way up through all of the families, and every service is completely packed at our church. There are so many families there all the time. It's such a beautiful thing. So we had to weave our way through the crowds. So we went up, we wove our way up to the front of the altar, or just in front of the altar, or off to the side, close to the altar. It's where we could see the altar. And I whispered in your ear, I said, oh, he's lighting the candles. Oh, the nuns are lighting the candles. Oh, look, they're praying. Oh, he's blessing the travelers. And then the travelers went up for their blessing. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And what did Father Trevor do when the travelers went up?
Give bread to them.
Yeah, he gave some bread. I don't know if he gave bread to them, but he gave them special water. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we watched everything, and we looked at everything. And then the different songs came on, and the different songs were sung, and did we sing along with the songs?
Yeah.
We did, didn't we? Yeah, and then did we do the sign of the cross? We did. We did the sign of the cross many times. We touched the ground many times. And I just whispered in your ear, this is what's happening next. Oh, look. Oh, look at that icon. Oh, look at Jesus. Oh, look at Theotokos. Oh, look. And we very quietly and very respectfully, we stood together, and we noticed everything. And you know what happened? What happened?
Put water on the travelers.
That's right, you put water on the travelers, and you were so interested in everything, weren't you?
Yeah.
And I held you in my arms, and we just very quietly noticed everything, and we loved it, didn't we? We loved it. Children have a far greater capacity for attention and focus than we give them credit for. And yet I think a lot of parents unwittingly don't give their children opportunities to practice attention and discipline and quietude, and church is just such a beautiful space for that. And that's another thing that I love so much about our church, and that's that there's no like children's preschool, there's no segregation of children, there's no expectation that our children will be silent, but there is an expectation that as parents we are continuously supporting our children and teaching our children how to be at church. And it's so wonderful, and I just feel compelled to talk about it. I can't stop talking about it, so here we go.